Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Davida, how are you?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Please, you started yet because we are waiting for more people to join. Let's give them some few minutes. When the number is enough, then we'll start. Thank you very much.
Okay, Davida, but what time are we, looking at to start?
Probably in 3 minutes' time. So by 7:05, we are starting.
Let's say, let's give them 10 more minutes. Let's say we can, like you are saying, let's say we should start at 7:10, probably.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's 7:10 now, so I hope we can start now.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please, before we begin, I'd like us all to kindly mute ourselves so our noise doesn't interfere with anything that will be going on. Please, let's kindly mute ourselves and let's kindly rename ourselves so we know your names and we can notice you when at any point in time when you want to ask a question or you want to say something. So if you could kindly use your names on this meeting, please let's rename ourselves. Thank you very much. Once again, good evening, everybody. We are welcome to day one of the 2-day webinar organized by Clamtech and Multimedia Enterprise about artificial intelligence in our businesses and professions. Okay, so I know some of us may have knowledge about artificial intelligence, AI. Some of us may not know anything about it, but we've heard about it. So this webinar is for everybody, whether you know something, whether you don't know anything. We are all going to learn. We are all going to be educated because it's going to be a very exciting and informative session. So if you could kindly get your notepads, wherever you want to take your notes, because you are going to be very enlightened during the session. And I'm going to be your host for today. My name is David Alfuriwa Edujemfi, and I'm going to be coordinating this session with my partner, Mr. Bernard Isel, who in due time would introduce himself. So before we start anything, I'd like us to know about Clamtech and Multimedia Enterprise, our organizer. So what does Clamtech and Multimedia Enterprise do? So it's an enterprise that's basically into everything multimedia and technology. We provide services such as photography and videography, software development, digital marketing, you name it. Any service that has got to do with technology and multimedia, we are here for you. So if you want more information about us, we are going to send our link into the chat box so you can visit our site and know more about us. If you want to contact us with regards to anything, IT consultation and training, we are here for you. Kindly, you can visit our site, then we'll start our interactions with you. Yes, so we are going to go right into the agenda for today. So before we start with the presentation, I want one of us to give us the opening prayer to start. If you want to give the opening prayer, you can raise up your hand so I call you, then we can start today's meeting. Please, you can use the raise your hand symbol on your screen so I notice you. Then I can give you the floor to give the opening prayer. Please, I'm waiting. Oh. Please, someone should volunteer to give us the opening prayer.
I think a hand is up. Mr. William Dachomo or something. William has his hand up, so you can call him.
Okay, Mr. William. Please, if your hand is up, you can give us the opening prayer.
Yes. Okay, let's pray. All right. We thank you very much, Jehovah God, for the protection you have given us throughout the day. We have met here to come and learn about artificial intelligence. It is the order of the day. We are appealing to you that you become the chairman of the meeting. Help us understand anything that we will learn here, and let us know how best to apply them in our various businesses. Anything that will help the meeting to come to an end successfully is what we are asking you to do for us this evening. We humbly ask you all these things and other things that you know will help us in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. William, for the opening prayer. God bless you. Okay, so we'll go straight into today's session. So before we continue, I'd like us to take note of some few things. Please let's rename ourselves so we can identify you if you are on this meeting. So you can use your full name, your first name, so we identify you and notice you when you are going to ask any question or your hand is up. And also, if you have any challenges with your audio, be it in terms of hearing what the speaker will be saying, or maybe you can't view if you can't view the presenter screen, you can text me privately in the chat box. We'll see what we can do about it. Please let's remember to mute ourselves. Okay. So going straight into the main agenda for the day, I'd like to welcome the speaker for today. Let me give a brief description about the speaker. So the speaker or our presenter is a computer scientist with a background in telecommunication engineering. He is also the CEO of Plamtech and Multimedia Enterprise, CTME for short. So without much ado, I'd like to give the floor to our speaker for the evening, Mr. Caleb Adolfo Frempong. Let's welcome our speaker.
Okay. Hello, please, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you all for joining us this evening. we are here to come and then learn a few things, and I know we would leave here better than we came. Yes. So as my colleague said, Caleb A. from Pong, yes, founder of CTME, based in Accra. She mentioned the list of our activities and all. Yes, so we would put our website link and then other social media platform links in the chat box so that you can reach out to us at any time. This evening, we are coming to learn about something which at this point has become very common. I believe we have prayed, so we can get right into it, yes. We are coming to talk about something which has become very common. Artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, BARD, these AI tools, everywhere you pass, there's AI here, AI there. And most of us have heard of it. Some of us have even used it in some capacity before, but then we have never really understood how they work, and we don't even know how to use them to benefit us solely. So that is what we are here to talk about. So as you can see, that's the title of our presentation, Empowering Professionals and Entrepreneurs. Now, why do I think this is going to empower us? We live in a world where when there's a new technological development, if you don't learn it, if you decide to use the old ways, you realize that you are lacking behind. A few years ago, we realized that there was the advent of desktop computers, where everywhere you went, there was a desktop computer. And it became so ubiquitous that if you didn't have one to enable you in your work, you were lacking behind. So this is one of those things where we all have to catch up. We all have to learn these things because everyone is learning them, and we would also want to stand out. Now, one of the good things about these tools is it is now coming up. Most people have heard about it, but don't really know how to use it. So if you take the opportunity to learn it now and then learn how to benefit from it, you realize that you stand out amongst your colleagues and amongst your other entrepreneurs. So as she said, my name is Caleb Frimpong, and I'll be pausing from time to time to take questions, because believe you me, some of the concepts are a bit difficult to understand immediately. So if at any point in time you feel like you are not getting something, I'll be pausing from time to time to allow for questions. Now, if you have any questions, you leave them in the chat box. We'll be taking advantage of the chat box a lot because we don't want the interruptions from the various noises we make in our background. Yes. So let's get right into it. So this is the table of contents. These things would cover both today and then tomorrow. Now, for today, we'll be talking about the introduction to AI. We'll be learning a few things about the basics of AI, large language models, which we'll talk about later, some ethical things to consider, ChatGPT and others. But then God willing, tomorrow we are going to be talking about the applications, how they apply to us, how they apply to me as an accountant, how do they apply to me as an administrator of a university, how do these things benefit me? So that's what we'll be focusing on tomorrow. But I feel like it's necessary for us to understand how these things work, given that they are everywhere and you can never tell. Your kid might meet you might come from school one day and say, Mommy, how does this thing work? I'm hearing about ChatGPT, how does it work? It's good for us to have that kind of information. So I'm going to break the concepts down and try to not be technical. We wouldn't be technical at all in this session. We would make the concept easy to understand so that we can all live here with something. I will do some practicals to show us the interface of ChatGPT and then some other. ChatGPT obviously is very popular, but then we'll talk about some other AI tools probably you've never heard of before and don't even know how to use. We'll talk about all of those. So let's start with artificial intelligence. Now, if you are into computer science, obviously this is one of the courses every computer scientist takes. Yeah, it's a bedrock of these tools we have now. So what is AI? AI is a branch of computer science and technology that aims to create systems, machines or software programs that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So what we are saying is there are some tasks that we as humans can perform. As of now, we can perform. But then we have gotten to the point where those tasks have become repetitive and then we want to hand over to machines. Let me give an example. Emailing. Day in, day out, as professionals and entrepreneurs, we send emails, we receive emails. but sometimes drafting an email to respond to someone becomes very tiring. So that is why these AI tools are there. Now they're able to take that task off our hands, writing articles, writing our research papers. These tools are here to take those things, those burdens off us, to allow us to do the things they can't do. So some of the things they can do include understanding natural language, recognizing patterns, solving complex problems, learning from experience and making decisions. Now, in this lesson, if I mention natural language, I am referring to spoken language, which is the languages like Twi, English, and Co. Languages that we humans understand. That's what I mean by natural language. You hear me refer to natural language processing. So all those things mean the languages we speak and then understand. When did these AI tools begin? How far back? So we know from some little history that philosophers like Aristotle and Plato were considering the possibility of machines that could think. But then they didn't have the kind of knowledge we have now. They didn't have the kind of systems we have now to build them. But then in the 1950s, AI began to emerge as a field of study. Before then, it was just a concept people floated about, but never really took serious. Now, in the 1970s, AI research suffered a period of decline, known as the AI winter. Now, what caused this was the fact that since the 1950s, when people like Turing and Co., Alan Turing, I mean, founded this field of study and then decided to research in it, everyone was looking forward to it bringing up some huge things, but it had been 2 decades and nothing new was coming out of it. So that's the period we are referring to, the AI winter, where there was nothing new coming out of it and the expectations were very high. They knew it could be a lot, it could be something huge, but nothing had come up yet. So in the 1980s, we had a resurgence where the research began, and this coincided with the introduction of new computing technologies. Now, if you remember, for those who were alive then to remember that personal computers were being developed. We had Macintosh, silicons have become widespread, and we were able to make circuit boards that could run complex programs. Yeah, so the technology we had was able to process the kind of large systems that AI was bringing about. You get it? So what I feel prevented it from working out earlier is the technology. As soon as the technology caught up, we realized that we're able to also work on it and then develop new systems. Now, some of the more notable advances in AI include large language models, which I'll talk about later. Then reinforcement learning, generative adversarial networks. Now, reinforcement learning is basically the way by which all these AI tools we have today learn. The basic understanding of reinforcement learning is you teaching the machine something, and then it's getting it wrong, you correcting it, and then telling it to do this better. And then it keeps doing it until it masters the skill. At the end of the lesson, I would show us a little video on how reinforcement learning works. Yes, I'll show you a video on how it works. So what is the future? The future of AI is bright, obviously, as you can see. Given the capabilities it has now, we can tell that the future is very bright and it has the potential to solve a lot of our problems. But then it doesn't come without problems. Obviously, with every good thing, there is some negative. Yes. So we'll look at those. Yes. Artificial intelligence in its current form has been in existence for some time now, but not in the models that we have now. Now we have large language models, but before ChatGPT and Co became common, we had things like YouTube and Netflix implementing some form of artificial intelligence. What do I mean by this? I don't know if we have realized when you go to YouTube and then let's say you are listening to a particular artist, you listen to a first track, you listen to a second, a third, all from the same person. And you leave YouTube, you go and come back. You realize that when you open your main page, your homepage, you realize YouTube is giving you recommendations. And then one of the recommendations is one of the people you used to listen to previously. That is also some form of AI. It uses our likes and then dislikes to recommend us videos to watch. The same with Netflix. When you pick a particular genre of movies and then you start watching those, you realize it gives you it gives you that type of genre to continue watching because it's based on what you like. So AI has been in existence for some time now, at least not like this capable ones, but something that we used to use, but then didn't know how it worked. So some are Siri, which we all have on our iPhones, Alexa, Google Translate. I think Google Translate came in 2006. And then we didn't know there was this AI in it. We just used it to translate from English to Tree, English to French, English to Russian, and all. So it's been there. But in this time, it has become more capable and has allowed us to be able to do more with it. So how does this AI work? In the simplest form, AI is inspired by the human brain. Just as we can think and then understand and then make decisions for ourselves, that is how these AI tools work. AI systems learn by processing data and identifying patterns. So we realize that when we give it a string of words, it's able to, based on those string of words, to produce an output for us. For those of us who have used ChatGPT before, which I believe most of us have, realize that is how it works. AI systems are trained on large amounts of data. Now that is the bedrock of these tools, data. They need data and information. So the kind of data, as we'll learn later on, include articles on the internet, websites, books written in the past, previous information that it exists is what is used to train these AI systems. Yes, and then that allows them to be able to make predictions from identifying patterns. Yeah. So if these tools existed before, if YouTube and Co had this AI, what caused the change? What caused the fuss we hear now, where everywhere you pass, you can't stop hearing about AI? So this is what caused it. In 2017, some researchers at Google wrote a paper titled "Attention is All You Need." And before then, the neural network, which from the name refers to something similar to the neurons we have in our brains, the neural network that was being used for natural language processing, which I referred to earlier, as spoken language like the ones we hear and understand. That was what was being used, and it was slow. It was processing words sequentially instead of processing them at large. So it was very slow, and then it was computationally expensive to train. So what happened was these researchers found a new model, a new way of training these things. And it's the transformer architecture. So as we'll see later on, the name GPT, ChatGPT, the T in it stands for transformer. Yes, that was what created this whole new generation of tools we have that are very, very capable. So the transformer architecture is a new type of neural network architecture that does not use RNNs. Instead, they use attention mechanism, coming from the title, attention is all you need, which allows the network to focus on the most relevant parts of the input data. So it doesn't just consume the data at large, but then finds relations in them and then consumes it that way, learns on it that way to be able to output information when it is asked. So that is what caused the breakthrough. So the impact of attention is all you need, that 2017 paper, is what we are seeing now, where day in, day out, we are getting more and more dominant AI systems, and they are being very helpful. Yeah, so that paper was, believe me, it was very important. I remember when the paper was released, some people said, based on how dominant the architecture looked, some people said AI was going to become too powerful and was going to take over the world. We can never tell if that will happen, but we live to see. Yes. So the large language models I spoke about earlier, what are they? GPT is a type of large language models. GPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, they are types of large language models. But what are they? I think if we understand what they are, it would better help us to understand how they work. So they are a type of artificial intelligence model designed to understand and generate human language text at a massive scale. So that is the name large attached to it, and then the language. So it should be able to understand the languages humans can speak and not the binary code that computers speak. So these models are built using deep learning techniques. I wouldn't want to go into deep. Let's just understand that they are built using the data sets that they are trained on, yes. And they are characterized by their immense size, which is typically defined by the number of parameters or weights in the model. I'll talk about parameters next so that we understand what the parameters are. So the large language models can consume large sums of emotion of text, and then based on that, to learn the patterns between those texts, learn how those texts relate to each other, and then produce an output for us. Now, what are these parameters I'm referring to? So parameters in AI, and particularly in the context of machine learning and deep learning, refer to the internal variables of models that are adjusted during training. So in this case, the more parameters you have, the better. But then it gets to a point where parameters sort of begin to hurt you if there are too many. If you use more than enough, then it becomes very difficult and then expensive to run the system, and then you realize you're losing more money than you are making. Yeah, so parameters, in simple terms, are like the settings on a musical instrument. Just as you tune your guitar before you play it, that is how the machine learning engineer also tunes the model using these parameters. So the more parameters they have, the more they can tune the model to change its behavior, for it to learn patterns quickly, for it to learn and understand the patterns it has seen. Yeah, so that is what the parameters are. Yes. Now, the complexity of large language models allows them to do things like generating text, translating languages, answering questions, and then writing different kinds of creative content. Now, most of us have seen it do these things before, because at least a fair number of us have used ChatGPT to write essays. Some people have used it to do assignments, answer some math questions here and there. Yeah, so we've seen it do all this, and it is because of their ability to consume data that allows them to do this. When I say consume, I mean it in the sense of they being trained on it. Yes, that I'm trying to use consume so that it becomes more relatable. So let's say we have a pen drive full of 1 terabyte of data, and then we are training it, we are feeding the AI system with it for it to learn, just like the way human beings learn. That is why I keep using consume. Yes. Let's talk about some ethical situations in AI. There is something known as algorithmic bias. These data sets we have, obviously, it's human information. It's our emails, it is our websites, it is the information we put out there. But then we all know that not everything we put out there is correct. Some people insult online, some people write racist articles. There are all those things. So how then do we ensure that these systems are not trained to mimic our negative behaviors, but just our positive ones? So there's that bias. Now, whoever is training the model you are using determines how it should reflect on some views. So, for example, if you ask ChatGPT which race is the most powerful, they will tell you, oh, don't say that all races are equal. Yeah. So ChatGPT has been trained to not be racist, to not pick one race above the other. But we know in reality, in real life, there are human beings who are racist, there are human beings who don't like others. Now, the problem with this is, if there comes an AI model, which we are all using, that isn't trained on the right data set, that isn't trained to not learn the negative aspects of human behavior, what happens? Remember some time ago, Facebook tried creating a bot based on our Facebook posts. And then after a few hours, I don't know if you remember, it began to spew some hateful speech here and there. And that is how humans are. That is how we are on Facebook. That is the kind of information we put out there. So if it is taught on that kind of information, it would also pick up those things. So we have to try and ensure that if we ourselves are building these kinds of AI tools or are modeling our own, we make sure that the biases are right for all and they don't favor some and not others. Yes. So there is also transparency and explainability issues. Sometimes it's difficult to tell how, in most cases, how these tools are working. If you ask the machine learning engineers how ChatGPT works, they don't really know. It's a huge black box. They know they have connected they have fed it with some data and have trained it using some parameters, but then they don't know exactly how it gives out the data that it does. It's a black box. So if someone begins to do that, and then they create a model that, yes, we can't understand how it works, but then we also have problems with the kind of information that it's giving out. We can't hold the system accountable. You can't even hold the machine learning engineers accountable because they themselves don't know how it works. You get it? So this is also another ethical issue with AI. There is privacy and data protection. I am really going to focus on these ethics of AI because it's very important. As we learn how to use these things, we really need to learn the ethical side of it, so that if we allow our children to use it, we know how much to let them use it. We also mind how much information we put out there. So let's dive into the privacy and data protection. What do I mean by that? These tools, as I said earlier on, are trained on data sets. Now, that is the data we put out there. So let's say there's an AI model that is trained on Facebook's database. So the information we put out there, the pictures and everything. You realize that it gets to a point where we as humans don't have any privacy, because these large corporations are just scraping the web and then taking our details, our addresses, our home addresses, our MasterCard details, and the kind of all the information we are putting out there. These large corporations are taking those data sets and then using it to train their models. Now there is a ChatGPT plugin that allows you to enter the name of a person, and then if a name and then a Gmail, and if the person is fairly active on the internet, that means if the person has accounts like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and co linked to that Gmail, you realize that it begins to give you the person's information. It can give you as much as the person's age, and can give you as much as the person's address, home address, if the person has put it online before. You get it? So that's the kind of world we are entering, where as we sit here, we don't know if someone is buying our data from a company or from a social media site to train its model. So it becomes very dicey. So my advice for you is mind what you put out there. Mind the kind of pictures you put out there. Mind the kind of videos, the kind of information you put out there. I'm not saying you should lie, but know what is personal. Something that if it went out there, you wouldn't mind. For example, there are people who upload their credit card pictures on ChatGPT. That's not good, because OpenAI claims they don't train the models based on our inputs, but then you can never tell. So it's better to be on the safer side than to be sorry. Yes. Then there's autonomous decision making. As things are becoming more popular, we realize that we are also making them more autonomous. Now, there's a company in the US, I think Robotaxi. For those of us who are very active in this field, you might have seen it. Autonomous vehicles that they are planning to make taxis for. They drive themselves. They drive themselves. You order one, it comes, it picks you up, and then takes you to your location. But that is more on the harmless side. But then we also know that there are bigger countries like China, Russia, US, and co who are using these AI tools to create robots that they plan to take into the field someday to fight wars for them, where they take these robots in and they see that is the opponent, that is the enemy, go and then kill it. But then what if there's a glitch? What if the code or the data it was trained with, there's a problem with it? You realize it turns on its people, and there are various problems with making these things autonomous. So I think at some point we should limit how much autonomy we give to them, and then try to take some power from them. Hello, please, can you mute yourselves? Since you are disturbing the rest of us. Okay. I think the noise has gone down. Then there's the job displacement and economic impact. Obviously, we've all said this. AI is coming for our jobs. AI is coming for our jobs. I think Goldman Sachs, a bank in the US, released a research they did early this year, saying that in the next 5 to 10 years, about 300 million jobs will be taken due to AI. Now, these jobs vary. They are from clerks to hotel recipients, and it's not just because of AI. We are looking at AI as well as robotics. As robots begin to take more and more jobs, AI is helping them, because now the robots are able to think faster and better. So there is that side of it too. How many jobs? How powerful do you want to make AI and robots to the extent that they begin to take our jobs, and then how do we earn a living? So that's something we should focus on. Now, most of these ethical concerns, for now, that it doesn't look like it affects us, because here in Ghana, we don't have any company that makes its own model. We don't have any business that is creating something like ChatGPT. Yes, but in the US, whichever decisions they take up there affects us, because they are the ones controlling Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, and co, and making sure that they stick to the laws over there. So we have to make sure that if at some point companies in Ghana become capable of creating this kind of models, they are also guided by these things so that they don't turn on us and then begin to use our data to train their models. Yes. There's weaponization and misuse. We've seen it. We've seen people use it in surveillance systems where you give it a couple of pictures of someone, and then you realize that when it sees the person, even from the side, from a side view, it's able to identify the person because it has learned the various angles to look at the person from. Yeah, and that sometimes can become dangerous because some people, some states will be using it to spy on their citizens and all, when you go to states where there are dictators and all. So there are some ethical concerns to it, and this is one of them. Yes. There's misinformation and disinformation. We've seen the AI themselves, the AI tools themselves, produce information which they believe to be right, but we both know isn't. So people are using it because of its capabilities and then its widespread use to share misinformation, to lie about others. I don't know if you remember, we saw the picture of the Pope dressed in some really fashionable attire. That picture was a deep fake. Recently, Joint News I saw was complaining about people using their panelists for deep fake videos, I think advertising some drugs or so. These are all some of the issues relating to the AI tools. They have become very powerful, and these are the kind of things they are being used for. I think there was one of Donald Trump in the US, which showed he had been arrested, but he hadn't been. These kind of things can cause problems elsewhere, yeah, which is very bad. So we have to try to not use them in that way. Yeah. Then there's human control and oversight. As I said, here in Ghana, we don't have any company that does that. But then in the US, I think last week, Joe Biden and his government put in place some measures. I think almost 20-something ministries are now checking and guiding these AI companies. And then they are making sure that day in, day out, these models they put out are by some standard. So those rules they have put in place up there affect us here too. Yes, but then if we ever get a chance to own our own models, we also have to make sure that those rules are put in place so that everyone uses it responsibly. Now let's go to ChatGPT, the main reason why we are here. But before we get into it and then we look at the interface and all, I would pause here and then take as many questions as you can. I wanted to go over the basics because I think it's good if we know how these things work, if we understand how they work. And to summarize it before I take the questions, they just work on data. These tools work on data. Just look at it as you having a kid and then you teaching the kid, you buying textbooks for the kid and saying, learn this. The kid begins to learn, he doesn't understand, he comes back. You tell it, no, take it this way instead. So after a while, you realize it gets to a point where your child has become smart. He's able to identify pictures when he sees them. He's able to identify the alphabets when he sees them. That is how these tools work. We as humans provide them with some data, and then they learn based on the kind of data they've been given. Then we fine-tune it. We tell them that when you see this, do this. When someone texts this into your, hey, do this. Then after a while, we leave them out, and then we are able to ask them to give us back the information, but in a faster way. Yes. So that's the simplification of how they work. So I'm opening the chat box. If you have any questions, please let's text them into the chat box. I'll be waiting for about a minute. If I don't see any questions, I'll be continuing. So please, if you have any questions, let's type them quickly and then let me take care of them before we continue. Some of the things they can do, understanding natural language, recognizing patterns. William, please, I see your hand raised, but we are trying to limit the number of people who would want to talk. So if you can type, okay. Okay, I'm seeing a question. Why ChatGPT? Could you be more clear on the question? Why ChatGPT in what regard? Yeah, it refers to natural language. What when the AI how far to go from something that philosophy, Aristotle and Plato. Okay, with regards to this webinar, why ChatGPT? Okay, I'm not only going to be talking about ChatGPT. I'm going to talk about a lot more. Yes. Please, yes. It's actually being streamed live on YouTube. So I will give you the link right afterwards, and you can watch it anytime you want. Yes, it's being streamed. With regards to this webinar, no, this is not the only thing I'm going to talk about. But then this ChatGPT seems to be one of the most powerful amongst the various tools that are out there. So it has become very important that we talk about that too. But I'm going to talk about a lot more. Please, are there any more questions? Okay, it seems like there aren't any. Okay, then let me get started and let's look a little bit at the interface. I don't know how many of you have used ChatGPT recently, but if we have realized there has been an overhaul of the whole user interface, there's been a change. It looks completely different now. So this is the new interface. This is the new interface they have, and much different from the green background they had as of last 2 days, or 3 days ago. So this allows us to now toggle between GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. I would explain the difference between the two very soon. Yes, this allows us to open the sidebar where we have all our previous chats and then users. Yeah. Now they have a new place for something they are calling the GPT store, which they are now allowing people to build new AI tools, new GPTs, that's what they are calling it, based on their model. So what does this mean? So let's take something like creative writing coach. They are saying this one was created by ChatGPT actually, but they are saying, I'm eager to read your work and give you feedback to improve your skills. Now, this means that previously all these things you could have just prompted ChatGPT as usual, but now they are giving you specific GPTs, specific ones that you can download or use to tackle a particular goal. Math mentor. I help parents help their kids with math. If you need a 9 p.m. refresher on geometry proofs, I'm here for you. So now I realize that they are creating new tools for us to tackle specific goals. This one is saying Gen Z for memes. I hope I help you understand the lingo and latest memes. So this is a new that if you haven't used in a while, you probably wouldn't have seen. And now they're allowing us to create our own GPTs. But then we are not going to go that deep into it. You can create your own GPT based on their model and then customize it and let it do exactly what you want it to do. But then we are not here for that. So let's go to the homepage. Now, as you can see, this is the text box where you'll be inputting the information you want. Later on, when we begin to use it, you realize that this will turn into something like a square that you can click to stop generating the information. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a type of AI language model developed by OpenAI. Now, OpenAI is a company based in the US, California to be specific. Now, the name GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Now, generative in the sense that I wouldn't want to say create out of nothing, but it's able to produce, I don't want to use generate again, but it's able to generate new information based on the things it has already learned, which we get from the pre-trained. It means that it has learned something before its deployment. It has learned something before its deployment. What do I mean by that? So let's use GPT 3.5 and let's see if it can give us any current information. Please, I hope we can all see my screen. If you can't, please let me know in the chat box immediately. So let's ask it something a bit more current. So what is going on in Israel right now? Now, this is a bit of current news. Let's see what it tells us. It's saying, I'm sorry, but I cannot provide real-time information, as my knowledge was last updated in January 2022, and I do not have access to current news or events. Now, this just tells us that it's pre-trained. It has been trained before, and now has been deployed for us to use. So all the information and data it gives us is up to its cutoff point, up to where it was told to stop learning, as to where it was it finished learning, it finished being trained. So that's the name of the pre-trained. And the transformer comes from the architecture we talked about earlier, which allows for faster ways of its learning. Yes, that's the transformer architecture. Now, it is specifically designed for generating human-like tests based on the input it receives. So ChatGPT is trained on a large corpus of text from the internet, which allows it to understand and generate natural language text and respond to user queries. So user queries are the things like what I typed here, what is going on in Israel right now. That's an example of a user query. For those who joined the group, the WhatsApp group early on, I posted a link. I posted pictures of the ChatGPT and then Bing Chat for you to download on your phones. If I think some people had problems with it, I'll try and then get a video, record a video, and then so that it will help those who haven't been able to do it to easily download it. Yeah, this will allow you to use ChatGPT everywhere you go. And it's very useful. Now, the model's ability to generate coherent and contextually relevant text makes it a valuable tool for businesses and professionals. Now, users can interact with ChatGPT through APIs, which is for the technical people who would want to build based on it. But then you can also interact with it using the website like we are doing now. So this is the website where you go to chat.openai.com, and then you see it there. Then it also allows for you to use on your phone, like I was saying. So you can download it from the Play Store or from the iOS App Store. It's available on both the devices. It's making it accessible for developers and businesses to integrate into their applications and services. It's very important we learn how to use it. Now, ChatGPT has been in existence for some time now, but I think it's now gaining traction and a lot more people are hearing about it. So 3 years after OpenAI was established, GPT-1 emerged. Most people didn't hear about it. It didn't gain as much traction as the recent ones. But then it was supposed to be their first step into using this transformer architecture. It was their first time trying it out. And as usual, your first time, you always have problems. So they tried it out and then realized the mistakes, realized what to do. Then they came back with GPT-2. Now, GPT-2, when you compare the parameters I was referring to earlier, had 1.5 billion as compared to 117 million parameters with GPT-1. So you realize that they built a lot on GPT-1. They realized their mistake and they brought a better one out. GPT-2 didn't gain as much traction, but then GPT-3 came. That one we all heard of, ChatGPT-3. I think it was the fastest site to gain 100 million users in 2 months and a little more than 2 months, which is very impressive because people began to use it and then they were using it day in, day out. So this one had 175 billion parameters. So if you realize it's just getting bigger and bigger, it was just going up. Then that was late November that GPT-3 was brought. And then later on, GPT 3.5 came out. Now, there was a need for GPT 3.5 because when GPT-3 came, I don't know how many of us used it in the early days, but it didn't have the guardrails it has now. At that point, when it came early on, you could ask it to do literally anything and it will do for you. People were asking it to tell them how to hack a bank account. People were asking it to tell them how to create a pump, and it was providing all of those information. Now, it wouldn't do that. So they put it out there, they gave it to the public to try it out, and then they realized that this is where we have to work on it. Then they began to put those things in place. Then they made it much better, and then brought GPT 3.5, which is free to us all now, GPT 3.5. But then later on, they realized they needed to make something above that. Yes, and that was early this year. It came for professionals and then people who want to use it for much more difficult tasks. So GPT-4 came, but the problem with GPT-4 is you have to pay to use it. So if you're not a paid user like myself who uses it very often, you realize that you wouldn't have access to GPT-4, you just have GPT 3.5. If you are following by joining on your laptop and you've opened it, you realize there's a padlock on your GPT-4. You don't get access to it. You get GPT 3.5, but then you don't get GPT-4. Now, the GPT-4 is very good. It's actually much more powerful than GPT 3.5 in a lot of things. But in order to also make people pay for it, they've made the GPT-4 have some features that almost every one of us would like to use. Let me give an example. GPT-4 can access the internet as of last week, just past Monday. Now it has access to the internet. So the same question I asked GPT 3.5, I'm going to ask it. What is going on in Israel? And then let's see how it responds to the same question. Now you realize it is browsing the internet and then searching for current news. So it is trying to find things for us that are very recent. We know the internet is updated every day in, day out. Articles are being published, newspapers are being published. So you realize that it's telling us as of November 2023, there is an ongoing conflict between Hamas and in the Gaza Strip. And we've all been following the war going on there. So we get a few of the things that are going on there. But then realize how powerful GPT-4 is. Where it now allows it to serve the web and give us information. This is really recent. This update is very recent. Just last Tuesday, that it came out. They did their developers day, their first OpenAI developers day on Monday, and then Tuesday they began to roll it out. Now it also allows for you to upload documents, as we'll see later on. I'll do all those for us to see. So we can see that some of the difference between GPT 3.5 and then GPT-4. But then what are some of the capabilities of ChatGPT in general? Let's look at some. We've seen it do, for the sake of this lesson, I'll be using GPT 3.5 for us to see what we can do for free. We've seen it do the mundane tasks like, so what is a business plan? Obviously, we know it to answer questions like this very easily. Now, this has gotten to the point where it's being able to do this is no more a surprise. We have all gotten used to this. It can give you definitions, it can give you scientific terms, it can generate poems. Give me a poem about market. Realize it begins to give us something sensible. So it's in the world of commerce where ideas take flight. Marketing is the beacon that shines so bright. With strategies and tactics, it charts the way to connect with customers. Come with me. Sorry. So you realize it has a lot of capabilities. If one of us was asked to do this, it would take us forever to write a poem like that. And it's able to do it very easily. So sorry, let me mute those who just joined. Yeah. So then this is also very mundane. You all know it can do this. What else can it do? Let's do some translation. Translate, I am coming in tree. Now, one thing I should warn you about is it has the possibility of making mistakes, especially with stuff that are not too common. You know, Chi is not a very popular language. It's spoken by very few people. So Chi is not one of those languages that is a priority for them. When OpenAI launched this, they said it was trained very well on 50 to 60 of the more popular languages. So we are talking about French, we are talking about Hausa, we are talking the languages spoken by millions of people. Chi is not that popular. So we can see it says Miuraba, which is not exactly a translation. So let's see if it's able to give us a much better output. See, now it's even getting worse. It says, I apologize for the incorrect translation earlier. In Chi, I am coming can be translated as Meniaje, which is not even close to it. So this is one of the examples of situations where we shouldn't always trust its output. I'll talk about this situation later on. But let's say I'm a foreigner. I've come from England. I don't understand Chi, and I'm trying to use ChatGPT to learn a few phrases. And then I type this. You realize I'm way off. So we can't always trust its outputs. But then this is just an example of it can translate into much better languages. You can translate into much better languages. I see one Pius has, please, if you have any concern, please put it in the group, in the chat page, and then let me attend to you. Yeah. So it can generate creative and informative text like the poems I spoke about. It can translate text between different languages, as we saw, but then sometimes, as it's saying, although its proficiency may vary depending on the language pair. So depending on what you're translating to and then from what, the efficiency may vary. So it's better to use it for languages that are very popular and then are widely known. Yeah. Now, ChatGPT can provide code snippets and then programming related assistance. So give me a line of code to say hello world in Python. So Python is one of the more popular languages if you are into programming. Obviously, we know it's just one line. We all know it to be just print hello world, and then yes. Let's give it a few minutes as it processes this. Yes, I believe so. Pius is asking if GPT-4 gives a better translation. I believe it should. For Pius's sake, let's try it out. Let's go to GPT-4. Translate. I am coming to Chile. Let's see how well it does. Okay, as we can see, it got it on the first try, Mereba. Now, this tells you that the GPT-4 model, aside it being more capable, is also related to the web. Now, I can't say for sure if it had to, I don't think it searched this one. I have a feeling it's just been taught better. So it was able to produce this on the first try. Now, Mereba sounds right. Yes, so I am coming, Mereba. So I think the advice I give most people is, if you are someone who, as we see today and then tomorrow, if you are someone who uses this thing as much as I do, then I think it's worth paying for it. It's worth paying that $20 a month for it, because you get better accuracy, you get better functions, you get an advanced version of it. And when you are a GPT-4 Plus user, when there's a new rollout for maybe a new feature, you are one of the few people to get it first. You get it first before the rest of the world. Now, most of the things they mentioned on Monday at their developers day, it's just coming to GPT-4. It's not even coming to GPT 3.5. You get it? So it becomes very necessary that if you think it's worth the investment, it's good to pay for it and then use it that way. Yeah, so let's continue from where we were. So you've seen ChatGPT give us one line of code, which obviously, if you are into programming, you know this will work very well. It can do much more difficult tasks. It can give you longer lines of codes. But the best way to use it is to use it alongside your code. So if you are programming and then you get stuck, you don't know what the lines you are using, you don't know what it means. You're trying to find a problem. You can copy and paste it into it and then ask it to help you out. And then if it can, it would help you out and also explain the problems to you. So it can summarize long pieces of text and condense information into more concise formats. Now, I'm sure most of us have already seen that, but let's try that. So I had an article on hand, an article on global internet usage. Let's copy that, and then let's summarize this for me. If you want to move to the next line in the text box, use Shift Enter. Please note that if you click just Enter, it would run the prompt. So use Shift Enter so we have posted the entire article. Now let's see. It is trying to give us a summary. So it's telling us, as we saw, it's about internet usage. You've seen some of the facts in it and all. So let's ask it. So reduce this to just 4 lines. Now, why am I asking you to do this? Let's say you have a situation where you have a very large corpus of text, and then you want it reduced to very small lines or paragraphs. This is, as we said, if you read this, you realize it's almost a summary of the entire thing. So it becomes easy to work with this. So we've seen it do this. Let's get back. Yes. ChatGPT can offer suggestions, advice, and recommendations on various subjects. What do I mean by that? Let's ask it. What degree should I pursue in the university? Now, obviously, this is a question we should be asking a chatbot, but then just to show the kind of advice it gives, it will tell you to do some self-assessment. I'm sure this is information that if you spoke to any elderly person, they would give to you. So what do you, when you look deep within, what do you actually want to do? Research career paths, seek advice, consider your lifestyle. So we can see it's very good at also giving practical advice to not just computer information, but then also some live situations. You get it? So it's very good at that too. This list is by no means exhaustive. There are a lot more capabilities. It does a lot more. Yeah, so this is not an exhaustive list. And we will see later on more of its capabilities, God willing, tomorrow, when I show you how to use it to do things like analyzing graphs, and if you are into accounting or data analysis, how to use it to clean up your data and then use it to visualize your data and all. It's able to do all of that. It's very, very capable. It can generate images, it can analyze images, it can do a lot more. Yes. So let's look at the other tools I was referring to. So how ChatGPT works is very similar to how AI in general works. As I said earlier on, it's been pre-trained on massive data sets, including the internet, books, articles, and then other things. But during the pre-training, it has taught the relationship between words and phrases, so that it allows it to be able to link one word to what should follow it, and then in that order. Now, let me give an example of that. Let's take this very famous nursery rhyme. Twinkle, twinkle. Now, I haven't said much. I'm just saying twinkle, twinkle. Let's see what it does. Now, so it is certainly, here's the classic nursery rhyme, twinkle, twinkle, little stars. Now, this is an example of how that relationship between words is found. Now, it links twinkle, twinkle, and then obviously I assume that you are referring to the whole nursery rhyme. So then let it produce the nursery rhyme for you. You get it? It's just looking at the relationship between words based on your prompts, based on what you asked it to do. If it is there, what should follow there? What should follow why? What should follow the word it just put up? You get it? So it's very important that we understand that it is just using predictive analysis. It all is just math. It's just math and then probability. That is how it works. Please let me mute. Okay. Okay, let's continue. It doesn't have a fixed set of rules or explicit knowledge. So it just captures patterns, associations, and then statistical information in that regard. So it doesn't really know for itself how it works, but it's just able to, as we said, find associations with words, find how one word refers to the other and how it relates and all, and then produces the information for us, just like that. When you provide a prompt or a question, the model generates responses using a process called autoregressive text generation. Now, let me get a bit technical here. It's a huge word. It doesn't mean a lot. All it means is if one word comes, what should come after it? That is all it's doing. That's the whole idea behind autoregressive text generation. So one word has come. What should come after it? With regard to the prompt it received, with regard to it saying twinkle, twinkle, what should come after the first twinkle? What should come after the second? That is how it works. So it starts with an initial input, then predicts the next word, and then uses that prediction to inform the next word, repeating this process to produce a sequence of words that forms a coherent response. Yeah. So it's been trained well enough for the output, mostly on the first chance when you prompt it. It makes sense. You get it? If we were to go deep into how it's trained, you realize that the first few times when it's actually learning, when it puts stuff together, it isn't really coherent. It doesn't make sense. But then after a while, when it learns better and then it self-supervises itself into learning, it gets better at those things. Yeah. The model can provide contextually relevant answers by drawing on its learned knowledge, but it also produces incorrect or nonsensical responses. So as I showed you, because it relies solely on its training data, sometimes it can make mistakes. If the data it's being trained on is really old, then it's not able to give you accurate information from the present time. Yeah. So it doesn't have consciousness, it doesn't have emotions or understanding. It's just a complex pattern. So it's just a system, it's just a software, it's just math and statistics behind it. That is all it is. So most people begin to think it has a brain because it's able to somehow look like it's reasoning. No, it's just what has been given that it's giving back to us, but it looks nice enough. Yeah. So continual fine-tuning and feedback from users helps improve its response. So for example, early on when we asked it to do some translation, if we click the feedback button, we can submit that the response was wrong. So yes, so we have sent a feedback to OpenAI for them to work on it. That is how they really want our feedback. So just an advice: if you are working on ChatGPT, if you are working in ChatGPT and then you have anything like that, just send it back to them and let them know. It helps them to make it more accurate. Okay. Yeah. So what are some of the limitations? Now I'm going to focus mostly on ChatGPT when it comes to explaining these things. When it comes to the other tools, I'm not going to go into details like this. But then because they are very similar, when you understand the limitations of ChatGPT, it sort of cuts across the rest. So it has a lack of raw word understanding. It doesn't really understand the word like we do. It is sensitive to input phrasing. How you prompt it is the kind of response it will give to you. If you make mistakes in your prompt, well, you wouldn't get the right output too. So it's that's we used to see that garbage in, garbage out. So depending on the information you give to it, it would also give you that kind of information as output. Now, verbosity, sometimes it gives you some stuff that isn't necessary. It gives you irrelevant information, and you have to tell it to reproduce the information or tell it that this information isn't relevant, take it out, something like that. Now, ambiguity is very, sometimes if you prompt it and then your prompt is ambiguous, you wouldn't get a right output too. So we'll learn a little bit about prompt engineering later on, and we'll learn that we have to make our information as unambiguous as possible. Then there's a lack of critical understanding and inappropriate content. Sometimes it doesn't give you the right information. Let me move. I'll give out the PowerPoint. So you would get all this information. You can do the comparisons between the GPT-3 and 5 and 4. The main difference is the added capabilities and then the other things they can do, the multimodal stuff. That is the main difference. But then you can look at this later on. Let's talk about BARD. Now, BARD is one I don't know how many of us have used before, but if you have, then well, you are trying. You are really trying, because most people don't really learn when these new things come. So let me show the interface of BARD and then talk a little bit about it. This is the interface of BARD. BARD is made by Google. Is made and then owned by Google, and it is based on currently it's based on Palm, but initially it was based on Lambda. I think they're working on Lambda 2. And it was unveiled on February 6th and then released on March 21st, 2023. Google is currently working on its own large language model, a much more capable one called Gemini. Yeah, so I think later in the year that will also be released. Yes, but then for now, BARD is available to us all. And the good thing about BARD is free. BARD, just like ChatGPT, can do the basic stuff. So the same questions we asked is, what is a business plan? And it gives us the same information. Yes, just like the rest. They are all able to do these things. Basically, at this point, this is something simple for them. But then something also makes BARD stand out. And what makes BARD stand out? If you prompt it and then there's a need for it to involve pictures, it would provide you with images. So let's say, tell me about electricity. I know my prompts are just here and there, but I just to prove a point. Let's see. Okay, so Can you give me some images? Let's see. It produced the first prompt without giving out any images. Let's see if this time it would give us some images. Okay, now if we look at it clearly, we see that the images it provides are linked to specific websites. This should tell us that BARD is linked to the web. So BARD, for it being free, gives you current and accurate information. So these all link back to the various websites where they came from. This is very important. What makes this even more capable is something they call extensions. For those of us who browse a lot, we know what these browser extensions are. It's similar to this. So BARD has extensions. These extensions are related to most of Google's main software. So we are talking about Gmail, we are talking about Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Maps, YouTube, flights, and hotels. Now we all know Google owns YouTube, so we should understand why that is. Now, how do we access these extensions? Let's open a new tab. We go to this. If you can see where my mouse is hovering, up here, we go here, extensions. Now, they are also much more recent. And now, if you haven't used it before, you realize that all of them are activated except Google Workspace. So you have to, if yours is off when you begin to use it, you have to also turn it on and then you connect. Because that one is relating to Gmail and co, they need your permission to connect to it. So they don't do it automatically. But then basically, these are some of the things we can search for. We can search for in BARD directly. Let's see how it works. So I want a flight from Accra to Tamale. So naturally, when you search for this, if you were to search for this in ChatGPT, it wouldn't be able to give you the kind of information we are about to see. What is it giving us here? Now, if you saw, it activated one of the extensions, Google Flights, which is a company owned by Google that is supposed to be an airline company that helps you with ticketing and then linking you with the actual airlines. Yeah. And this is what it does. It's able to give us Africa World Airlines round trip 2000. And even the currencies, the amounts mentioned there are in cedis, which lets you know that it's based on my current location and then where I am to give me the right amount. Okay, so but the thing it tells you is that BARD doesn't always get it right. So be sure to check the following flight details. And which is very true, as we saw earlier. These AI tools are not perfect. So if you use this platform to book a flight, make sure to call your airline company to make sure the time your flight leaves. Sometimes it has the time wrong because of the difference in time between here and then the States. Sometimes the time zones are wrong. So you just ensure that. Now, this is one of them. Let's use ads. Now, the ads allows you to access a particular one. You realize the moment you type ads, then we get access to all the extensions you can use. Let's use hotels. So help me book a hotel in Tamale. Now, one might say, what is the use of this? Why should I even care about using BARD to do this when I can just walk into any hotel there? But then the importance of this is, let's say I am here in Accra, I want to go there. This helps me get accurate results on information about some of these hotels. So if you are living in Tamale, I'm sure you probably come across some of these hotels and then restaurants before. So it's giving you the amount per night and co. This is also very important. So you can access this kind of information. You can access airline information and all just from this. Now, Google has done very well to incorporate their stuff. You get it? They've done well to incorporate their things. So God willing, tomorrow I'll show how to use the Gmail extension here too. I think it would go well with the other concepts related to it. So let's use one more. Now, when I use the app, it makes it easier to work with the extensions because then you pick out which particular extension you are using. But then if you just type in general, it would have to figure out based on your prompt what extension you want to use and then based on that, then it gives you. So it's faster to use the @ symbol to pick a particular extension. Let's use maps. So how long, how long will it take me to get to Tamale by vehicle? Now, we all use Google Maps when we are going to a place we are not very familiar with. But then this allows you to be able to do this without leaving this page. It gives you that kind of information. Now it's processing it here for us. Let's see how well it does it. Okay, so it's basing on my location here in Accra to show me the direction of the way to Tamale. And it tells me that if you want to see the directions, you can click here, and it will actually take you to the Maps website, and then you can focus on it better. So this is also one of the features. Let's use one more. YouTube. Give me a video to watch on how to create a website. So it's now going to scour the internet, find videos on YouTube that relate to your prompt, and then give it to you. You get it? It's able to find videos for us and then give it to us. Now, obviously, we would have gone directly to YouTube and then just searched how to create a website, and probably would have gotten most of these videos. But I like to think that the one YouTube recommends is usually one of those highly rated ones on YouTube. So the one Bard is giving you now, I would assume will be the best out of the bunch you would see. So sometimes it feels good to take those options instead of just going to YouTube and not finding a good one to use. So I don't know how many of you follow this guy on YouTube. He's Ali Abdal. He's based in the UK. Very good video, yeah. So these are all competent ways of using the Bard extensions. Now, if you have something in your drive, let's say you have a document. For those of us who use Google Drive to back up our stuff, if you have a document in your drive, you can ask it to look through your drive and then find that particular document for you. Now, I don't have any documents in my drive. I usually store pictures and videos up there. So I can't prompt it to do that. But then, just like you've seen me prompt it for other things, it will directly go to your Google Drive, find the document. You can ask it to summarize the documents for you. You can ask it to restructure the documents, whatever you want it to do. It will just access the document and then do it for you. You get me? Yes. So this is also one of the very capable AI tools. I don't know how many of you knew about this before, but if you didn't, please try and take advantage of all these. It makes working online very fast. I'm going to pause here and then take a few questions. I don't know if there are any. If there are, please let's bring them up. If there are any questions. If there's something in particular you want to ask with regard to ChatGPT and Bard, something you would want to see me do for you to check its capability with. Okay, so I believe everyone seems to be okay. Everyone seems to be fine. Okay. Then let me, okay, wisdom. You speak. So you speak.
Hello, good evening to all of you.
Yes, please.
Please, my question is, assuming you have a chat and you want ChatGPT to give a description to your chat, can it do that?
Chat as in?
As in a graph.
A graph, okay, yes. Yes, it can. Now, it can to some extent. For GPT 3.5, you can't upload images. You can't put an image and then ask it. Yes, but then with GPT-4, yeah, as we'll see, God willing tomorrow, where I'll use it to do some data analysis and some qualitative analysis, we would see that GPT-4 is capable of analyzing it, visualizing the graph in different ways. If it's a bar chart and then you want a line plot instead, it will convert it to that for you. So if you're someone who works with charts a lot, you do those things very frequently, then you can pay for it and then let it help you work faster. I don't know if you're okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, please, any other questions? Okay, it seems like there aren't any. So let's move on. So let's look at the difference between Bard and then ChatGPT. Bard is free, GPT 3.5 is free. So we are comparing the free ones, not the free Bard with GPT-4. So its information access for Google Bard comes from Google Search. And then it trains data sets. For ChatGPT, it's from the data sets it's been used to train earlier on. So as you can see, as you saw for ChatGPT, it was January 2022, 2022. So that from then onwards, GPT 3.5 hasn't been updated. So any information from then onwards, we don't have. But the Google searches every day, the new information being put online, Google has access to it and it's used to trade Bard. Then the natural answers, we realize Google Bard is a bit more natural and factual because it's accurate, but then ChatGPT is generic and artistic. It gives you much more artistic outputs. It's able to add emojis and all when you want it to. It's very good. Then formatting. I prefer Google Bard's formatting. I like how it looks. I sometimes don't like ChatGPT's, and ChatGPT tends to give you a lot of information. Sometimes you can even limit it and it still goes above board. So I have an issue with that. Then accuracy, Bard is up to date, GPT is not. Idea generation, GPT seems to be better at generating ideas. Yes. Then there's for multimodal response, which is the kind of responses it give. Can it give images? Can it give sound? Can it give? Yeah, you realize that Google Bard can do all those, but then ChatGPT can't. Then citations and references with regard to finding the links that the web pages where the information was gained from. Realize that Bard is able to give us links to those web pages, like we saw in the pictures, but ChatGPT doesn't give us any of those. Now, another feature of Bard that I didn't put out there, let's go to the earlier tab. It can output sound. So when you click on this, it's going to play back the prompt response to you. You get it? So you're able to listen to the response.
Electricity is a fundamental aspect of our modern world.
So that's also another way. In case your hand is busy and then you can't be reading, you can always leave it in. But then ChatGPT 3.5 doesn't even allow you to do that. Yeah. So let's look at another one. This one is called Claude. Again, I don't know how many people have used this before, but in Claude AI, it's made by a company called Anthropic. Yes. It's made by a company called Anthropic based in San Francisco, US. They made Claude 1 in, I think, last year, and then they brought Claude 2 not recently. Yeah, and it's just like GPT and then, but it can do the same things, it's conversations, and it understands text. It's able to do all those things. But then one of the advantages Claude has over the others is, especially with the free version of ChatGPT, it can accept up to 75,000 words as inputs, which is far better than what ChatGPT 3.5 can accept, which is, I think, 2,000 words. Yes, which is far better than that. So let's put this to the test. We have this article, we have this, and then we can see this is around 13, yes, it's around 13,000, so, okay, this is 2,500 words, sorry. So let's copy, and then let's go to ChatGPT, then summarize this. Let's see if it's able to do that for us. Okay, it's working. So this is roughly 2,500 words. Let me give it a much bigger let me give it a much bigger task. So if we have something around 3,000 to 4,000 words, realize that it becomes very difficult for it to work with. Is a second. Now, usually when the outputs, when you input it and then it can't it can't work with it because of its size. It tells you, and then you know what to do. But it's mostly, let's find an article on artificial intelligence. Let's find a very large article. Let's see if this is large enough. Now, the most capable tool I'm leaving for the last, because that's one I believe is the most important amongst them all. Okay, so I think this seems to be large enough. Let's copy this and then see how well it fares with it. Generally, if you have any problem on ChatGPT with the size of words, I would advise you to use Claude AI. I'll provide all the links to these AI tools in the PowerPoint, so you'll be able to use them on your own. Let's see if this is enough to trigger its limitation. Okay, so the message you submitted was too long. Please reload the conversation and submit something shorter. So this has triggered that size limitation. Now, if it was into GPT-4, obviously it would work. But then this is Claude. This is the interface for Claude. Let's try it. Let's start a new chat. So we are going to say summarize this. And then ask it. Now, if you realize something, the moment you pasted it, it turned into a text file. This is one of the nice things about Claude. It doesn't just leave the prompts lengthy like that. The moment you copy and paste some information, it turns into a text file. And let's let it run it and see if it gives us something useful. Yeah. So I think this relates to the topic of the whole. So here's a summary of the key points in the attached text. I realize this is able to handle it much easier. For the reason why I didn't show you it's doing the other things is all those things it can do, from talking about business plans to answering questions on math. It can do all those things just like the others. It's perfect at that too. But then one of the advantages, and this is also free. So if you have large texts you are working with, this is the best one to use. Even if you copy and paste the text, it will convert it to a text file, and then you can work with it. You get it? And please, do we have any questions on this too?
Not for me, please.
Okay, then let's move on. Let's talk about one of the last tools. So the capabilities, as you can see, similar to the ones before it. That's the same natural language processing, general knowledge, question answering. And I believe as time goes on, we wouldn't be wowed by these things anymore. We will become so used to it. It will just be like Google, searching something on Google and then getting information, because we realize they are all good at that. But then the little things that make them stand out is what we'll be using them for. Yes. So Bing Chat. Now, Bing Chat is available on all devices. You can install it on Mac and others. You can install it on Android. You can install it on iOS. But then I'm going to show it to you in the context of Microsoft Edge, which is the default browser on all Windows machines. Now, I don't know if you know Microsoft Edge is the former Internet Explorer. Yeah, the Internet Explorer that comes with every Windows machine, by every Windows laptop you buy, it's on it. Now, Microsoft Edge is the much bigger, it's the much recent one. So they've remodeled it and then called it Edge. But then this is the Bing interface. You are capable of using it here, but it's much better in its own software. So let's go into Microsoft Edge and then use it there and then see how it works over there instead. Okay, so when you get to the landing page of Edge, just like this is one of the reasons why I don't really like using Edge that much. I've always preferred Chrome to it. So Yeah, I just had an update recently, so it's showing me, but then let me go to a new tab. So this is the landing page. Now, just like every browser, you can search for something and see so photo studios near me. Now, let's say you are trying to find a photo studio near you to go and get some photos shot. Yes, so you can find this. Now, just like every browser, it's able to do this. But then if you look up here, we see this feature, chat. This is the Bing chat. Now, Bing is now the Bing chat is now merged with the software, the Microsoft Edge browser experience. So the same prompt I searched for photo studios near me, now Bing chat is responding to it and then generating a prompt for me. It's generating a prompt for me. So it's finding, now if you realize it's giving me much more information than the normal search did. So Bing chat is based on GPT-4 and it's free. So if you're trying to use GPT-4 for any of its capabilities, but then you are limited, you can't pay, Bing chat is very good. And most people don't even have to install the software because it's available on your laptop by default. So all you have to do is just open it and then update it. If you haven't updated it to the much recent version, you wouldn't get all these features. Just update it and then you will get it. So we see it can do the same old stuff. It can do actual search. So what is a business plan? It's able to do those two. Is able to do the normal search like ChatGPT does, because it's based on ChatGPT's model. Yeah, Microsoft and then OpenAI have a collaboration where they are working hand in hand. So ChatGPT's GPT-4's ability to serve the web is also based on Bing. So it uses Bing to search the web, and then ChatGPT, Microsoft also benefits from ChatGPT by adding it to their browser. So as for this, we all know it can do, it's very capable of this. But then let's say we are on there, and then let's go to LinkedIn. Let's say I want to talk about this program. So I have entered, and I'm trying to really choosing the worst time possible to do a verification. Okay. This is a second, and let me log in now. Let me log in and then show this skip. It's very important to me. Yeah, so while I verify, let's do something else. Let's say you've come to a website like OpenAI, and now I am on their website. I have read about this. Let's go to ChatGPT, and then we have the overview of ChatGPT. Yes. So now I really don't want to read about all of this. If you come up here in the top right corner, we see Copilot. Now, Copilot is a new feature. That's when you upgrade it. It's Bing Chat, but then it's supposed to be used hand in hand with the browser experience. What does this allow us to do? So I can tell it, summarize the web page to me. So I'm asking it to scan through this entire page I am on and then give me a summary of the information on it. So it's searching for the information on the page. Then it tells me this web page is about ChatGPT, an API chatbot that can do various things. So it's going to keep producing the information for me. Now, this is very, very useful. So if you are someone who likes to use Edge as your daily browser, this is very, very useful because you can just go to any website. If you feel like the information on there is too bulky, you know how to access all of it, just use the Copilot. Ask it to do whatever you want. You can even compare it from here. So how does ChatGPT compare to Bard? Let's see. Now, even though we initially asked it just for the summary, because it's still linked to GPT-4, we are able to chat with it as usual. So ChatGPT and Bard are both AI chatbots. Bard is better at answering specific questions and providing real. So now it's still acting as a chatbot for us. So it makes browsing the web very easy. It makes it very easy. If you don't browse too often, if you don't use the web for things like this too often, you probably wouldn't appreciate how easy this is making things. Now, the best part of it is it gives you references, links to go to those particular pages. So when you click on it, you're able to go to the whole page and then read what the whole conversation was about. You get it? So it is summarizing our pages for us, it's summarizing our text for us. If you are someone who uses Microsoft Edge to read PDFs, if you use it to read PDFs, you can come to it and then ask it to summarize the whole PDF for you, and it would. Do you get it? So this is very, very important. Please let me do the verification. I want to create a post using it, and then we'll call it a day for today and continue calling tomorrow. I want to show now that I think I'm even contemplating changing my main browser. I'm really a Chrome user. I use Google Chrome a lot, but then because of how much they have made this and then how capable it has become, I'm considering making it my daily use. So what we had is chats. If you see where my cursor is, this is on chat. But then let's say I want to compose a message. Then we come to the middle one here, compose. Now compose gives us access to even more features. So what do I want to write about? You type that here. So talk about my webinar on AI tools for professionals and entrepreneurs. Then generate drafts. Now, if you look down here, it is gradually generating a response for us. So it says AI tools are becoming more accessible and affordable for professionals and entrepreneurs who want to leverage blah, blah, blah. It's giving us the information. Now, let's say it is done. Now I've added it to sites. Now, just within a few minutes, I have created a post. So over here, if I want to add some hashtags, I can just add, say, hashtag AI or some. We all know the kind of things we do online. If it's a Facebook post, if it is a YouTube comment, if it is an email you are replying to, you can use it for all of this. Please, I hope we are all okay with it. It's very important that we learn how to use, because this makes you faster. Now, I would have written this from my head. It would have taken me a few minutes, but then this is faster. If you think this is too professional, we can change it and then make it funny, and then ask it to generate the draft. Where this time, instead of going for a professional tone, it's going for a very funny tone, and then it's going to try and then make our post as funny as possible. See, are you tired of using outdated and boring tools? Let's delete this and then add this to site so that we can read it. So are you tired of using outdated and boring tools for a professional? Do you want to learn how to harness the power? So now this time it's changed it. I will show you some of the coolest and most useful AI tools that you can use. This time it's not using the professional lingo, but then it's being fun. You can look at you can modify it. You can even add more ways you want it to sound, more tones. You can give it more voices. So if for nothing at all, if for today you didn't learn anything at all, I want you to go home with this. If you are a daily Edge user, this particular browser, if you use it a lot, try and then incorporate this into your workflow. Use this to simplify your tasks. Let them help you to finish the things you are doing faster and then better. Do you get it? I'm going to pause here, and then if you have any questions, please let's ask. If you have any on how to do it and all, how to do anything here, let me explain to you. So if you have any questions, please let's ask. Okay, please. I think Wisdom has a question. Please go on.
Thank you for the opportunity given. Mine is how are we going to get the links to the site so that to be able to use such uh, sites for it to help us in our searches?
Okay, so these I'll provide all the links to the various sites we saw today, and then some other insightful ones as part of the PowerPoint when I'm done, and then give it to you in case later on you want to refer to it and then learn something from it. I'll also add some important prompts. Yeah, we'll talk about prompt godwin tomorrow. Then we'll know that those queries we enter to get information, that's their name. They are called prompts. How do we make, what kind of patterns and techniques do we use to get the best output? We'll tackle that godly tomorrow. Yes. So I'll give you all that information by the end of the day, godly tomorrow, right after the session. Yes. But then for the one I just showed, the Bing chat, the Microsoft Edge, it's available to us all. It's available to us all. So we can, you can, if you have a Windows laptop, you can also install Bing chat on your phone and then use it in that same way. If you have a laptop, Windows or Mac, that is Apple, you can install it on it and then you'll be able to use it. I think if there are no further questions to me, I'll end it on this note and then hand over to our coordinator.
Okay, thank you. Please, Mr. Caleb Frimpong, there are some questions in the chat box. So, Mr. Benjamin Edu Jenny is asking if you can go over the last part again.
Okay. Please, can you be more specific? Which part is he referring to?
Okay, so while we wait for Mr. Benjamin to send which part he's specifically referring to, Mr. Amidu also has a question. He says he would like to know if you can teach him how to pin the Microsoft Edge and Bing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me take Mr. Jenny's own first and then come to Mr. Amidu. So how I developed the post for the LinkedIn. Now, let's say this is your page and then you are trying to start a post. The co-pilots, which I used earlier on, is on this side, the right upper corner of the browser. So look at the right upper corner. It comes with the other features on that side, but then the very first one is the one that is the co-pilot. So when you open it for the first time, you get this interface. Then you come to compose. The first one is chat. The chat allows you to interact with the page you are on and then with the GPT bots. But this time we are trying to compose, as in composing a post, creating a post from scratch. So that is that you come to this page. You enter what the information you want up here. So that is the right about. That is the up here. So let's say invitation to my wedding. Then when you enter the information you want up there, you come down here and generate drafts. You generate a draft. If you like what the information it gives you down here, then you click add to site. So let's wait for it to finish producing information. Then we add it to site. Now, when it adds to site, it is generally giving you the information in your main the main box. This is where you'd have generally typed if you are not using Copilot. So you get the information here, and then now you can edit it. You can change the time. You can change the various names and all, and then you make it how you like it. But then you can increase the length. So there are some preset settings like short. It's currently on medium. If you want very short responses, if you want very long responses, you can set it to that. If the format is a paragraph, if it's an email, if it's an idea, if it's a blog post, you can set it to that. Now, the tone is very important. It's on LinkedIn, so it's naturally set to professional because it knows where it is. Now, if it was on Facebook or Twitter, where it can also do the same thing there, you can set it to casual, you can set it to informational, funny. You can even create your own You can create your own tones. So it's very, very useful. Please, if he's okay, let him notify me in the chat box so that I know he's fine with my response. Then someone was asking how you would pin it. I don't know if you're referring to pinning the tab, if that's what you're referring to. Can he speak up and then actually give me more information? Coordinator, it looks like Mr. Amido is off, so let's continue, because I would have loved to get more information on what he means by pinning it. Yes, but it seems he's not around, so let's continue.
Okay. It seems he's still around, but I think he's having challenges with his audio. So, Mr. Amidu, if you're having challenges with your audio, you can please send what you have to say to the chat box so our speaker attends to your question. Okay, please, are there any more questions? If you'd like to ask a question, you can raise up your hand so our speaker attends to you. Okay.
Hello. Before we today was just an introduction. Most of the things we learned today were just stuff I wanted to give to us to make us understand how these tools work. God willing, tomorrow we are going to be more practical. We are going to pick specific professions, specific use cases, and then use these tools. So if today felt a bit boring, pardon me. God willing, tomorrow it's going to be much more entertaining. I'm going to take your opinions. If you can suggest your business name, we'll draft a business plan specifically for you. We'll learn how to use prompts to do some very, very nice things. So God willing, tomorrow, please, let's inform as many people as we can. Let them all come around, and we are going to learn a lot. We are going to learn a lot. I'm sorry, please continue.
Okay, so Mr. Amidu, don't worry, if you are still having challenges asking your question, you can save it for tomorrow. Tomorrow, then you can ask our speaker the question you want to ask. Okay, so it looks like we are far behind time. So, Mr. Caleb Frimpong, thank you so much for this session. It's been very informative, very educative, very insightful. I've really learned a lot. If not for this webinar, I never knew of any Claude AI, to be very honest. And I've heard of BARD, but I never knew what it could do. But because of this, I've really learned a lot. Thank you very much for this educative session. Pray that tomorrow we will all be able to come here again with our friends so we all learn more about it. Tomorrow, so the speaker said tomorrow he's going to talk about more practical situations. So if you found today to be more of a lecture, tomorrow is going to be very exciting per what I'm hearing from the speaker. So don't miss out on tomorrow's session. We hope to see you again. But before we go, just as we started with an opening prayer, we want to end with a closing prayer. So please, if you'd like to do us the honor of giving us the closing prayer, kindly raise up your hand and unmute yourself so I notice you. Then you can give us the closing prayer. Okay. Okay, so I see Mr. Pius J. Shum's hand. Mr. Pius J, please, you can go ahead and give us the closing prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Lord and Master, we thank you this evening for everything that we have been able to learn. We thank you for the life of our speaker today. We thank you for everybody who was able to join. We ask for your knowledge, we ask for your understanding. We ask that you help us that whatever we have been taught today, we'll be able to keep it in memory. We ask for strength, good voice, and then more knowledge for our speaker so that tomorrow he'll be able to provide us with even more knowledge. We ask that you be with us, guide us. Tomorrow again, when we meet, we'll be able to be here and then give you all the information. This and many more we ask. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Pius Ejechum, for this closing prayer. So please remember that today was just day 1 of the webinar. Tomorrow we continue with day 2, where we'll be going more into the practical aspects of using these AI tools. You don't want to miss out. Same time, 7 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. We'll be here with our speaker once again as he takes us through another informative session. Thank you so much for joining. I hope today's session has been very, very, very good, very interesting, very educative. We hope to see you tomorrow too. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.